Vernon Hall, Chapter 12. The Serpent and the Ghost. A week passed, and I waited for the mysterious stranger to return, the stranger who had stolen my heart. But alas, he didn't return the following week. My heart sank in despair. I knew deep within me everything wonderful I possessed was only transient. It seemed the same was true of my encounter with Ezekiel Lloyd. I had lived such a sheltered life, and I had been self-imprisoned at Vernon Hall. But those few moments with the handsome stranger felt like an eternity. They say, do not fall in love with a face, but sometimes it is just a face that captivates your heart. What a naive thing, and yet it is true. I was prone to fantasizing and succumbing to grandiloquent thoughts with no consequence. Whilst my ankle remained sprained and swollen, I was confined to my bedchamber and was unable to descend to the dungeon. However, as soon as the swelling had subsided, I limped my way to the dungeon and confined myself once again. I sat beside Amelia and told her about that night along the shores and the mysterious man. I told her I had fallen in love with him. When I saw Amelia's countenance this time, I detected a touch of anxiety. I cannot explain how exactly, but her clenched jaws and her eyes shut connoted the same. I didn't ask Bertha to verify it this time. Apparently, I was the only one who saw Amelia's expressions. No one else did. Well, there was no one else except Bertha and myself. She reproached me the day after my encounter with Ezekiel Lloyd. "It isn't right to be so forward with a man who you've just met, miss," she scolded. But Bertha, I couldn't help it. It wasn't as if it was deliberate. I only felt coy each time he looked at me. Oh, Bertha, he was so handsome. Bertha's cheeks grew red, and she glared at me in the most adorable fashion. Now, miss, he did what he had to. I asked him to carry you back to the house because you were in pain. That didn't mean I was encouraging anything. In truth, we don't even know anything about him. Did he really even know Miss Vernon? How would we know?" I thought over what Bertha said, then replied pensively, "No, Bertha, he knew her, and it seems he knew her quite well. He recognized her brooch and her perfume. Do you think he could have been Amelia's lover?" Bertha was instantly irked by this line of reasoning. Lover? Oh God, no. Miss Vernon wasn't the type to indulge in affairs. He did say he was her doctor. It could have been that they knew each other in a professional capacity. However, I have to say, miss, he has quite an eye and a nose for observing her scent and what she wore, she commented sarcastically. We didn't discuss Ezekiel Lloyd again. Well, not for some time anyway. My delusions returned. I saw Amelia distressed in my nightmares. "No, what have you done? What will we do now?" This is what she had said in her delirium when she was alive, and she had said the same in my dreams. I wondered whether she despised me for not burying her, but I always shunned the thought. Amelia had loved me far too much to ever accuse me, and she was the most forgiving soul I had ever met. I assumed seeing her in such a state wasn't because she was in limbo, but only because I was distressed mentally and at times guilty for my transgression. Sometimes I would see that dreadful embalmer. He would grin at me in a most sinister fashion, and moments later his face would transform into Hugo's evil face. I had compelled myself to keep Hugo. No one else would take up employment at Vernon Hall, and that rascal didn't wish to leave. I had to compromise with the vile man who constantly badgered me for his wages. which, by the way, I had to increase, seeing how all the other servants had abandoned Vernon Hall. The strangest thing happened a fortnight after my encounter with Ezekiel Lloyd. I had awoken at dawn in the dungeon. The golden sunlight flooded through the stained glass window, and that insidious serpent looked ever more real than it usually did. Just as I was about to make my way upstairs to take a bath, I heard a whisper behind me. As I slowly turned, I saw a woman standing before me. She was young, a little older than myself, and had flowing black hair, red lips, and lustrous eyes. She was voluptuous. I suddenly realized she was the same woman Bertha had seen in the garden, as she wore a parlour maid's uniform with her shoulders exposed and a pearl necklace around her neck. Am I dreaming? Or are you really here? Her scarlet lip curled seductively, and she spoke, her voice echoing. I am here. I have always been here. I was here before you, and I will be here after you. She grinned cruelly. I froze. My heart pounded in my throat, and I could feel my face burning with fear and my body dampen with perspiration. I gulped several times, and when I again attempted to speak, the ravishing parlour maid's eyes blazed with fire. She growled like a wild animal and transformed into that monstrous serpent with toxic fangs. She stormed at me, and I shrilled. I shrilled so piercingly, my eardrums throbbed. I closed my eyes tight and shielded my face to protect myself from the vicious beast. And then I was seized by my shoulders. Calm down, miss, calm down, for God's sake, what has happened? It was Bertha, and she looked terrified. My eyes darted around the room, but nobody else was there. Bertha patted me on my back. What is it, miss? What's wrong? She shrieked. Bertha, I saw that woman. I saw her. I spoke in a panic. So who, miss? There's no one here. Bertha replied, also in a panic. The parlour maid, Bertha, the woman you saw in the secret garden. Bertha fell into a silence. Her eyes widened as if in a state of shock. You've seen her too, miss? Yes, Bertha, black flowing hair, red lips, a malicious woman. It was her. Miss, it is possible that you only saw her because I spoke of her. I mean, you only imagined her. There is no one else at Vernon Hall but you, me, and, well, and the mistress. She pointed at Amelia's casket. I then remembered another detail. Bertha, she wore a pearl necklace around her neck. Do you recall seeing it that night? Bertha thought hard over it for a few moments, then looked as if she were about to faint. I did, miss. Now that I come to think of it, it was a pearl necklace with a black ribbon. Bertha trembled from head to foot. I put my arm around her to ensure that she wouldn't collapse. Miss, have we both gone mad? Or is she really a ghost? She whispered. I could have been mad, but I knew Bertha was not. No, Bertha, we are not mad. Vernon Hall has a dark history. The evil monks committed many crimes here, and I believe this woman was somehow involved with them. My voice trailed away.